of our life, so I'm really grateful for this opportunity. So my company name, Mosaic Fitness and Nutrition. Mosaic, what does that mean? So it's basically an assembly of broken pieces to form or create a more beautiful whole. Okay, that's what it is. So a mosaic painting, think of it like that. So my mission or my tagline that you hear me say a lot is changing the mirror from the inside out. Now most of us go to the mirror, hopefully, at least once a day to brush our teeth, maybe to fix our hair. If you're, reapply your lipstick unless you have Synogens. But my question for people typically is, when you go to the mirror, do you feel as good on the inside as you're hoping to look on the outside? And so that's the question, no matter we're looking at fitness, nutrition, or our mindset. There's usually a conflict between those two things. Usually there's a conflict with what's on the inside and then what's on the outside. Sometimes we can present a really good package, but we might have some stuff going on the inside. So my vision, and this is something that's kind of been a work in progress as I've kind of picked up some broken pieces of my life, is to empower my clients to live a congruent whole life. And when something is congruent, it's equal. So to be able to look in the mirror and be able to change the mirror so both pieces, inside and out, are equal on the inside and out. So let me just start with a quick story. I had, a couple weeks ago, I'm in my gym, I'm training people. It's during a time of transition. I have two clients there. One is behind me. My other client is laying on the ground doing the foam roller. David likes to call that the pain roller. So she's on the floor and I'm like excited because I'm reaching for the table because I want to show my other client who's leaving something. As I do that, I trip over these dumbbells. I come falling down. I hit my hip. There's this Roman chair I have that has this bar for push-ups. I fall down and I hit my rib cage. And all I think to myself is, oh my gosh, we have not hit the deductible yet. I hope I don't have to go to the emergency room. Okay, so in the moment that my clients are like, oh my gosh, Tracy, are you okay? They run and get some ice. They're calling my kids in. I can't breathe. And I'm whimpering, but I'm trying everything I can in this moment of mortification to muster up enough breath to make a joke, because my ego has been bruised as well, and I'm embarrassed. And so a lot of times we think to ourselves, in those moments, how many times do we try to keep it together, right? We try to appear normal, we try to look acceptable, we try to look like we're in control of something. Well, I had no control. I was definitely at a place of surrender in that moment. Well, later on that night, I went into the bathroom and I was filling the bath with Epsom salts because at this point my body felt as bruised as my ego was before. And I had grabbed this book by Brené Brown. It's called Rising Strong. If you don't know who she is, you've been living under a rock. But she did this TED Talk that went viral in 2011 all about courage and vulnerability and shame. And so I've just been watching her a lot. And so I grabbed her book, and on the back of the book was this quote. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I'm not going to read it to you. You guys can read it. But basically, I had been struggling over the last few weeks with a part of my story, which involves my business. And what I realized is there was just some of my story in my life that I really just wanted to disown. And that I realized as I read this quote, that even though I tell my clients it's everything about you that matters, it's about being whole, there was something I needed to look in my own self. I needed to look in my own mirror and understand that my fall was a part of the experience as well, and that needed to be shared. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking to you about kind of the 4 parts of my business, something new that's coming up, a little bit about me, Mosaic FitNut, and Cancer Thriver. So there's lots of different stuff about me. A couple of facts. I was a pastor's wife for 10 years. People usually think that's kind of interesting. I held the record for 20 years in high school for the 3,200 meter relay. They broke it in 2013 finally, so that was kind of cool. I have 2 boys, Tristan 14, Ryan 11, and a bonus daughter, Chloe, who is 22. And I have 3 dogs, Reese, Snickers, and Sprinkles, and none of those are on my whole food nutrition plan. And I'm also starting to write my first book called Love Letters from Cancer. So, all right. I put sound effects on it. That's really loud. Okay, so First thing, Mosaic Fitness Services. So let me just tell you a little bit about the fitness side of things. So from core to cut, I like to, again, we're going to look from the inside out. So my model, this is my friend Sam here, okay? So I use the acronym SAM. So as you can see, SAM here, we start with the S, which is the core, the stability. If you don't have strength in the core, which is going to be your hips all the way up through the spine, then there's a lot of things that are not going to be efficient. Whether it's stability in your brain, in your mindset, or stability in your body, it's going to be compromised somewhere along the line. My A stands for activate the dormant areas. So we don't usually realize that there are muscles that have lied dormant until you reach up in the closet for that box, and all of a sudden now you're having surgery for one of the 4 rotator cuff muscles. And if you can tell me the 4 rotator cuff muscles, you can have a free session with me. So M is mobility of joints. So what does that mean? We want to be mobile. We want to be able to move, especially as we get older. And so my goal for that is to be able to provide people with a program that's not going to be just about what they want, but also about what they need. Okay, we have to be able to have the 2 elements come together. I have some clients that are like, I hate breathing hard, I hate cardio, I don't want to do it. And then I have other people that are just like, you really want me to pick up that heavy dumbbell? Yes, I do. So sometimes we have to be able to come to an agreement that we need both things. All right. How do you get fit with me? So personal training, small group training, Pilates reformer, and I also have a Pilates chair. Today I just want to briefly talk about my small group training. So I kind of passed around some of the flyers. It's a 12-week small group training class. I only take 4 people. It's customized. It's half the price of personal training. So that's what's nice. It gives people an option if they don't want to be, they're not ready to say invest in personal training. It gives them an option for small group, and it's all about 3D training. It's called PRISM. So P is Pilates, as you can see, rotational movements, inner core strength, and mobility. So I'm looking at the body, and we're going to try to strengthen it from the inside out and all the way around it as well. So I have actually 4 times coming up this summer, 5:30, 6:30 a.m., 8:30 a.m., and then I'm going to do a 5:30 p.m. as well. So, oh, and you get 6 bonus online nutrition coaching sessions. All right, so these are my first group. They lost 25 pounds together as a group in a month. 5% body fat and 26 inches, and that was only their first month. So, all right. Sorry, this is annoying. All right, Mosaic Nutrition Services. My goal is to retrain your brain and refuel your body. And how I do that is by Whole Food Life Coaching. So I take nutrition and life coaching, we put it together. So this is my acronym, SAM Eats. So basically my goal when somebody comes to me, most people know stuff. They know lots of stuff. We have a lot of information out there. It's not about the lack of knowledge. It's usually I don't know how to use the tools. So number 1, I want to support you and try to navigate through that pop culture. Give you accountable action steps. Be able to mentor you through the roadblocks, which is one of the most critical parts of that. Education. And probably my favorite thing is really bring awareness. Most of us are just unaware of what decisions we're making when it comes to food. We're blindly kind of walking through life. We think, well, I think this is okay. It says it's a wheat thin. I think wheat is healthy. Maybe that's okay for me. And so being able to educate somebody, but also to be able to check in with yourself. The first couple weeks of my nutrition program, which is One Size Fits One, which I'm going to get to in just a second. The first 3 weeks, we spend a lot of time just on what is goal setting and how to have accurate goals in mind and not just be like, well, I just want to lose 50 pounds. Well, what does that look like every day? And what does that look like every week? So being able to provide somebody with the tools to know how to do that is really important. So how do you get healthy with me? I try to keep it real with whole food. So starting with a cleanse, you can do that, or you can invest in coaching. So my program for coaching, I was a teacher, that was my background. I was a special ed and ed teacher. So I'm all about teaching and curriculum and all that. So I have a lifestyle coaching program, One Size Fits One. These are some of the topics that we cover when you work with me. And we can add other things too. Sometimes I've gone to the grocery store with people. We all come in. My favorite thing is to come in your house and do a pantry sweep. Like, let me do that for you. I will do that. Love that. So, the goal is to help people transition to more whole food. Food that is alive, food that is not from a box. I always say if you can't read it, don't eat it. And if it's made in the lab, it makes your body feel bad. So it's being able to teach people those habits and those, and starting to just change their lives. And that way. All right, those are some of my ebooks out there. These are a couple of my clients, and this is going to be really noisy, sorry. So I've trained fitness competitors. I've done people who have never changed their lifestyle ever. This is a client, I've had him for like 14 years. He has a lot of orthopedic issues, finally getting his nutrition in check. So these are athletes. There's David. Look at those biceps. All right. I worked with her in Little Elm. We have a podcast called The Ladies Out Loud. Our goal is to help women find their voice and create the stories that they were designed to live. Some of the things that we've done so far on our podcast, we've gone and supported sex trafficking awareness foundations like Treasured Vessels and Traffic 911. We've done t-shirt drives for things like that. We do little fun things together, and our topics that we tend to talk about usually affect women. We've had all women so far on our show. So boundaries, addiction overcomers, removing the masks of perfection. So all different things. So we're always looking for people to be on our podcast, especially to help empower women, young women. Drum roll. All right, transformation speaker. So how do you go from a survivor to a thriver? So this has been my life since 2015. So this picture depicts exactly my experience, and I'm not going to get into all that right now, but basically you see this woman playing the cello in an area that obviously has a lot of poverty. It's grim, it's dark, there's garbage, it probably smells bad, but what she is doing is she's playing music, right? And she has found the hope in the darkness, and so that's a choice. It's a choice for you to go through something and choose, I'm not just going to be a survivor, I'm going to be a thriver. And so what does that mean? So Cancer Thriver meets Mosaic Fit Nut. And this is where probably that day that I fell, I was kind of struggling in my own mind. Before cancer, I was the poster child of health and fitness. I had a lot of integrity. If I worked out regularly, I ate regularly, I worked on my mindset, I did lots of stuff with my own mental health. And so I kind of felt like I had all the pieces together. And I wasn't doing that because I thought, well, I was going to get sick or anything. I wanted to live a life of integrity. So, you know, I went through cancer. Those are my cancer survivor pictures. And you do survive during that time, right? We always see that transition. We see the before pictures of somebody looking all great, and then their cancer pictures, usually their heads are shaved, usually they look thin, and then the after. But what we don't always get to see is the journey in between those points. And the journey in between those points is a road of darkness sometimes. I'm not going to sugarcoat that and pretend that, because I've heard sometimes speakers say, like, they go from here's before and here's after and I'm thriving. And yes, I am thriving, but it's been a road, and it's been a hard road to help me rewrite my story. And I've had to choose to make every, opportunity that I have in front of me and go for it. Like, let's do this. So Thriver, obviously my body looks a little different here than it did back then. So I ended up with colorectal cancer. I actually found out I had SIBO back in November. And SIBO is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Most people in the 90s that were diagnosed with IBS, actually about 80% are now being diagnosed with SIBO. So what I'm finding out now is SIBO causes cancer. So in one way, this is really like a silver lining for me, because I was racking my brain the last 4 years, like, how does somebody who is so healthy and doesn't have cancer in her family end up with cancer? No matter what, we're going to analyze that. We're going to be struggling with that. And so I didn't have the story of I ate bad, I got cancer, and now I'm healthy. So I was like, what is my story, and how do I share this with people? Because I think for me, I thought, who am I to tell people how to eat? After what I've been through, like, okay, I was through this, I guess it didn't work, and now I'm supposed to be like telling people what to do. So I really struggled with that. And I ended up with a permanent colostomy. So that's not going to go away, that's not going to change for me, and that's been a struggle in and of itself. The interesting thing though in this is between those 2 points, it says what we resist persists. And I heard a quote, it might have been Joanne might have said that to me. And what I realized is sometimes in life, we go through things and we stay stuck because we're not just looking back to find the value, but we're looking back because we're missing the old stuff. And I realized that some parts have to be left behind, and there's a grief that you have to go through when you have to leave those parts behind. And so I had to realize that I had to blame cancer not just for the losses, but I also needed to blame it for the beautiful things as well, which comes to being a thriver. So creating a congruent life from broken to masterpiece. So the origin of thrive is to grasp, get a hold of, grow, prosper, and flourish. When I looked at my clients and when they came to me and said, here's what I want to get stronger, I want to become more flexible, I want endurance, I want to get leaner, I want to be healthier, I want to have sustainable habits. That was the same thing the nutrition clients said to me. That's the same thing that people who want to change their mindset and people who thrive have to do. So you have to be able to, it has to start in the brain. We can choose our thoughts just like you choose your clothing every day. And it's a choice that we make. It's a choice to eat whole food. It's a choice to go and work out. It's not about motivation. That's a feeling. You're never going to feel like you're motivated to, sometimes take care of your children, but you got to do it. You're committed to doing that. It's the same thing with health and fitness. So, dun, dun, dun. Nothing can shape us like the hard stuff. How much time do I got? Am I done? Done? Okay. All right. Butterfly must struggle to emerge. That's why I did the butterfly. So, you guys have any questions for me?